We've got a cool box with live, harmless reptiles. Bit of a misnomer, because the reptiles that are in here definitely are live. They're definitely reptiles. But the word harmless is not something I'll ever be used to describe the species that are in this box. So I set up this enclosure. This is a temporary enclosure, and make sure that I want to make very certain that everybody understands that this is a temporary enclosure. I do have a lock. It's a very, very simple lock, but it's going to be a lock that is going to be working through the front. There's little holes here, and we're able to lock the doors, the front doors. But because of the species in question that's going to be in this enclosure, I definitely do not want long-term to be using anything like this. Basically, I don't want any sort of plastic or metal or anything like this. We will be using, once we're finished one of the cages, we're going to have a lot of cut-offs of plywood, and we're going to be remaking the cage even bigger than this, probably 4 foot with the same sort of dimensions for a longer term. But obviously, as you can see, this is a bit of a desert type setup. You know, we got it's a nice big slab of cork will be kind of the hide for it. We've got water dish accessible. The one thing that's not here, and it's actually sitting at the post office waiting for me to pick it up, but it was just a little bit late tonight for me to go there, and I'll run down tomorrow morning. But we have the heat lamp. The heat lamp we're actually using is actually one of the ones by ZoomEd, and it is actually a UVB mercury vapor heat lamp and UVB light. So it's going to really, really strongly mimic sunlight. And then we are going to be installing a heat pad on 1/3 of the enclosure. And that's the one thing that I did not get in time. I thought I had one in my little stash, but I just didn't. Regardless, we got this all set up and running about a few hours before I arrived, and the temperatures are absolutely perfect for it. So let's take a peek and see what we got. The two animals in question, brother and sister, brother and brother, sister or sister, we didn't really know, but we could easily go and probe them down the road. But handling this type of an animal does pose a certain element of risk, so it's not something we are ready to do at the time. These are just juveniles. These guys aren't even a month and a half old. These are baby Western Diamondback rattlesnakes. Crotalus, atrox. Handling these animals is something I can promise you right now that you will never see on this channel. So if you are one of those individuals that really enjoys watching people free handle venomous snakes, I apologize, this channel will not be for you. But if you want to learn and appreciate and understand the educational aspects of these animals, then maybe you found a good place. But I think they are absolutely fascinating species. I've worked with them before. The little buzztail up there, they don't even have a rattle yet. They just have a little tiny button. So working with little tiny neonates or little tiny babies, these animals pack just as much punch as their parents do. And we're going to do a video down the road. We're going to talk about them a little bit more detail, and we're going to talk about their incredible mom. Their mom is actually a Hollywood movie star. I know it doesn't sound like much for a snake, but she actually is. So we have some siblings or some offspring of a pretty famous rattlesnake. Now, as I mentioned, this is a fully venomous species of animal. I'm not in any interest whatsoever in handling them myself. I've worked with these animals for a long time period. Not these two particular animals, but I've worked with rattlesnakes a lot of my life. So handling them, we're going to be using things like hooks to be able to handle them safely, but to be able to move them from the little enclosures. Normally in a wooden enclosure, I would probably have an opening at the top, and I would place these containers inside the enclosure, and then I would open them safely, and then I would transfer the animal using a hook within the enclosure. But by doing that in the front here, and this being a shallow unit, I'm not going to have as much space as I really want to work with safely, and I don't want the animals to kind of come out too quick. I'm going to just use my tongs, and I'm going to transfer them gently into the... For transporting these animals, as I said, these are dangerous animals. These are medically dangerous animals. If you get bit by a rattlesnake, you're going to be in trouble for a while. It's going to cause some massive problems for your body. So I generally often use wooden transport cages, but I do not have, as I haven't dealt with venomous for a while, I do not have some of those things. So a nice, thick-walled, Sterilite style of container with good locking mechanisms also works very, very well in this case. You'll notice that all I'm doing is unlocking the enclosure. The lid itself has a handle that can come up so I can work with that animal safely without touching it. And now I can use this product as a shield to be able to move the animal safely. And there is a baby Western Diamondback. So let's go in here. There's one of them. So now you can see the reason for the protection. As I say, they pack all the same wallop as do the adults. Now we're going to just gently transfer it over. I want to pick it up kind of mid-body. Just lightly squeeze. And we'll transfer it over into the enclosure. And that one right away wants nothing to do with us. This there is the perfect reason as to why these type of screen top open enclosures are definitely not suited for these type of animals. The animal's absolutely loving its position up there close near the heat lamp. However, this animal probably could envenomate someone through the screen. So this would be a very, very temporary home.